All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for April 19th, 2023. We'll start with the swing portfolio. As usual, so we're on Alcoa. This is all on 30 minutes. Um, so, yesterday it closed very well on the two positions, and then there was a gap down. And that basically turned a really nice 4R win into a scratch because what we lost on this one erased what we won on that one. So just happy to get out of that one with my skin. That was one of the stories of the day. AI, this is the artificial intelligence software company that Elon's interested in. And this had a gap down morning hook. I treated that as the Kata 2. That was a new high of the day, so we're long with a standard risk, holding that one overnight. Got to have a thick skin about this stuff. Caterpillar, this is now the advantage of having, for the longer swings, just one position on that has been sort of protected by time and space. So you can absorb some of this stuff because you've got money in the bank and it's just one position. So you can endure that. And I really like the way this worked. If I'd had two positions on, I'd have been in an urge to get out of this right here and then had to, eat it and then re-enter here. So one of the trade-offs you get psychologically, it's a little easier to take that heat and grow that into a longer-term trade. Cliff, just been watching that thing. The weakness in the metals today now makes me want to consider this as a zero state and ready to go here or ready to go there. Yeah, just on the 30-minute, just PSAR flip. So we've got a nice tight sideways channel there, no overnight position. This is CVS, and so this is another one of those that bit me. So we were long from yesterday. It closed well, and it gapped down to here. So this comfortable 1R win became a 2R loss. After I reset to my own little zero state, this thing, by the way, sold off all the way down here, came all the way back up, and then started to fail again. So I put the old revenge trade on him and got one of those 2R back. So this was net -1 on that whole swing on CVS. Dish Networks, just studying it, no position. Devon Energy entered the long after this zero state here. It gapped down and then started to keep climbing. Got the PSAR flip and the RL10 reversal. So I'm long on the PSAR flip, standard risk, and this closed a little bit in the money. So I feel like this has a chance to get back to here, and that'll reward us as energy begins to make a little bit of a play. Electronic Arts, this is the one where because we had the two positions on from that PSAR flip and then the Kata 2, as soon as that started failing, I wanted to keep that second position in the money, so I'm all out. It showed weakness all day, and it closed poorly down here. So if that fails, this is a candidate to get short, and then if this falls below the RL10 belly, then that's a place for a second position. So I'll be ready on that one. But to be honest, if this holds right here and it starts resuming, then this is a automatic re-entry. So this is a perfect zero state, a place where it can go large in either direction. So I'm liking Electronic Arts. I'd rather be long than short it. Emerging markets. Now this is sort of the example of bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and yesterday there was no trade, and then it had this gap down. Ouch. It spent the rest of the day making a recovery, so I actually like the fact that it was able to hold at this level. That's the same level where it had that springboard. So again, I'm treating that as a zero state, ready to go large in either direction. I like that position, or that potential position, I should say. Ethereum, boy, this is one where didn't recognize those opportunities, and so today it gapped down, and because I had some markets money, and it started reversing right away. Once it got back up in here, I just said I should have been out of this down here. I'll take that, but I shouldn't have had that. I should have been out here. You can't short ETHE, otherwise that's a perfect short in Ethereum. And I took some off the table from our long-term position because one of the lockup periods in Ethereum just closed, and so there's going to be a little more selling pressure on Ethereum, so we wanted to lock some of that in. Mexico, just studying it. I like the way it closed in the middle of its range. It was a big range day, and it closed right in the middle of it, so that makes it sort of by definition a big fat doji, and it has a lot of room in the yellow zone before we even think about getting the second position on. So that's going to be a good trader tomorrow. Brazil, after this long, painful slide where I've been just a bitter old man wishing I was in, today it started rolling over again, and with the general weakness in the market, that was an opportunity finally to get in and have about 1 hour in hand. Intel, stalking. I love the collapse and consolidation, the CNC. CNC. Big collapse and then a consolidation like that, ready to go this way or that way. It's in good shape. Good shape for a short-term trader. International paper. So this is one where the conditioning of all those losses on what had been happy positions early conditioned me that when I got the PSAR flip and took the standard risk and it resumed and then started to sell, you know what? I was happy to I'll take 4 to cover a bunch of those other losses and reduce my overnight risk. Bird in the hand kind of a day. McDonald's continues to be a long-term love affair with me now, and although this was testing the PSAR, the RL10 hasn't, so it's got one more day to keep going. But if this shows any kind of weakness, I want to try to at least keep that second position flat. So my strict rule on that one tomorrow is going to be 290. As soon as if that jumps over that fence, I'm out. If it is able to get above this hump, I could very easily add a third position, especially if the market starts to recover from today. Merck, just nothing, scratch. Clean Energy, covered the short. So this one was starting here, closed here, and then today it gapped down and sold off. And then as soon as that started to recover, happy to take it. That's about 2R. Take that one. Rivian, just watching. I like the fact that it did not fail further today. For the whole day, it respected that little price level and actually showed a little bit of resilience going from winter to spring. So I'll be ready to play that long at 13 tomorrow. And short at 1275. So you decide which way we're going to go. Treasury stabilized, no position, but I'm stalking. Tesla finally got something out of this infatuation. Gap down, sold off, came up to set the OR30. Sold back down to here when it came up the next time. Long, because it could not make a new low in that bar. It got to the PSAR and today being the kind of day it was, I was happy to just make a buck on Tesla. U.S. Steel, last one. So this is one where even though it gapped against me, so it closed right here, and both of these were in the money. It gapped open to here, so that one turned into a small loss. This one paid for it with 1, 2, 3, 4. So we come out of that with about 3, and just happy to have missed all of this. Didn't have the will or pattern really to take that. We'll just see tomorrow. There was widespread weakness on things that had been strong, not just in metals, but in a lot of things. So this is a time to step back a little bit and catch our breath, and be ready for intraday opportunities primarily tomorrow. There's some positions I got to protect, and then there may be some short-term opportunities to get into. Okay, so that's that. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the Alpha Mind podcast from last Friday, it was really pretty good. I was pleased with the way that sounded. So just changed it up a little bit. We'll just talk through it. I didn't have the screen on. So this is XBI. This is one of the top 30 by liquidity and volatility. This is the biotech ETF. And today here was the OR3, the opening range 3. So we set our entry levels here. When it broke through on the PSAR flip, bought it. Routine exit for about +1. Stabilized here. Caught a 2 re-entry. At this level, almost to our battle drill, but it had cleared the all-important hump right there. And this was like the strongest sector at that point because of sell-offs in the other sectors. So took that one, took the next, caught a 2 emerging dragon, and then exited all 3 here for a nice clean trade. 2, 3, 4 on this one, 2 on that one, 1 on this one. That's about 7 plus 2 plus 1 is 8. So that helped ease some of the pain, and then no overnight risk. That was a healing process right there. Take a look at the traders. Woj sneaking a couple in on me here at the end. All right, here's Constantine. So he's our prop trader, and he's applied our techniques to his preferred targets. He loves gold, U.S. dollar on the 3s, and when the futures market on gold is closed, this is typical behavior. When it's just kind of grinding along, that's what happens when there are just bots trading it back and forth. And it sort of gives you the size of the noise box, which he has used here. And then when it breaks out of the Z3 pinch at the start of the futures trade, he can now have a really tight risk box and a very orderly move, which is a runaway move, and then he comes back and is able to just take that. He gets half here and half there, total of 5.6. And notice that he's in it till about here when the, let me try to get that drawn straight. When the winter has come out of the Red River and has started to roll over to become spring, that's sort of his natural time to know that the run is done. I should say he's short here. Sorry, and covers right there for 5.6. That's pretty nice work. This looks like Tim. Yep. You looked at the OR3. That was playable and would not have lost money. By the time if an entry here and you got some kind of risk box like that, that initial move to here, you won't lose money on that trade. He didn't take it, but when the rollover occurs, the VWAP has rolled over. It's left the dragon. He gets that short and makes a fraction. Quick loss, quick gain that almost offset each other. On this one, when it starts failing right away, take it at the edge of the river. Don't let it come all the way down to the PSAR, even though your full 1R loss is here. The belly of the dragon is like a very good Kata 2 or a collapsing dragon entry to the south side. So don't stick around longer when you've already got one good signal to exit. And that would then flip this whole thing around. Instead of losing 0.6 and gaining 0.3, you'd lose 0.3 and gain 0.6. Quick hit, quick scratch, and just that one trade right there would make all the difference on that day. Let's see. Here's Tesla. He gets paid twice. Nice. Gets the PSAR flip and a nice cash. Gets the PSAR flip and makes a bank. Not sticking around. When this thing held support at the VWAP like you would expect and starts to recover, the short wasn't going to happen. Now, if that had broken the VWAP, as you come down here, you come back and look to the belly of the RL10 and the PSAR flip, that becomes your reasonable trade target for this short. But it has to get through the VWAP first. When it doesn't, it had a chance to break and it didn't. That's why you get out right there. Well done. This is Hamad. This is the let's see. Whoops, I'm sorry. 3-minute chart. Pound versus the Aussie. Here was a Z3 pinch and a Kata entry that was available. Let me get this over here to where he's at. I love that short because it's below the previous belly of the RL10. That's like a Kata 2 to the downside. It's below the Bollinger Band mean. The river had pinched and it was breaking down. That's supposed to fail right away. When that doesn't fail, instead immediately starts going up and crosses the Bollinger Band mean, that's enough. So I think we stuck around one bar late. And then when that rolls over and crosses below the Bollinger Band mean again, you could think about an entry here. You could think about an entry here leaving the river. I don't mind crossing the Z2, but really you've left 2 standard deviations of move behind already. And then when this starts to reverse, it only went down 2 bars and didn't fail further and starts to reverse. Don't take a loss on what was a win in a quiet market. Just take the scratch and save that. Remember, the patterns we have should work right away. When they don't, that's information. So this is, let's see, this is DIA. Yeah, DIA on, this is also 3 minutes. Okay, so it gapped down hard. Whoosh. From the open, and you put a hybrid frog box in that thing, there's actually a trade right there. So here's rising highs. You could actually think about that PSAR flip as an entry, and you would probably scratch it. Just saying, though. Then on the resumption, this is a nice entry with a stop down here. That's reasonable. This would be a when this starts to roll over, this is now a money management stop. And where are you in the day? And now you got to say, I have this much in hand after it peaked right here. And I've given back this much. And now I still have this much left. How much of that do I want to give back? All of it? So be it. But what your risk manager mind is going to say is, in terms of the daily goals that you have, or what your average size trade is, you have to decide from math, if this is an average win and it's starting to fail, cash it. Take an average win. Just don't let it go negative. I don't like to see an average win scratch, because then I feel like I've given back too much. I had a chance to make my average play, and I gave it all back. On the cues, let's see where we're at here. So here was the gap down this morning. It's stabilized. Comes up to the Bollinger Band mean. He applies an entry in the middle of the river. You know, this is the only concern I have on this one, is that we've got this thick resistance line right here, this range, and it's got to get through that if it's ever going to go up and visit these prices. And so the first test, it would not be surprising to see that start failing right in the middle of this, right at the edge of the river. So you could have gotten long here and then immediately started failing. And that's information that says it's not doing that it is going to come back and test this. So if you're going to get in at that moment, you've also got to be psychologically prepared to get out in this space and not let this go negative. Now, it turned out that it got through there, and you were able to cash that little piece prior to the test and that piece after the test. And I respect the fact that you were able to bring home this much, because you notice it did not go up to Z3. It didn't do that. It couldn't get back up and test that other high. It basically stopped at the top of this resistance band and started to fail. So I think you made the best of what was available. Microsoft, I love the morning hook and PSAR flip and go. And you got out of it at a half-hour loss, and then it didn't fail further. It reversed higher, so get right back in, and you rode that horse. And now it cleared those three resistance levels and still going. Beauty. Nice. I like this shot. I like the quick exit, and I like the quick exit. So you made the best of the mover. You responded perfectly on that one. This is, let's see, Agnieszka? Yep, this is Agnieszka. There was the consolidation. Here was the gap down opening, starts to fail. She gets short on that, respects the fact that this is just noise box, and then it fails and starts coming back up, and she preserves, looks like about 2R. Quick cut, big move. So she gets large quickly when it's working, and she brings home 2.1. We'll take that. Nice work. Arch sneaking up on us from down under. Sees that big long sideways choppiness, sees it starting to fail below, so he sneaks one in, quickly gets out, and then stops and reverses, crushes it, and just on a single position brings home 5.5. I would suggest that if you take a look at this normal consolidation piece right here, that you know that if you get a breakout above here, you're probably looking at a 2-hour battle drill, and you might have been surprised with the second entry here or here and really had it pay off. But hey, if one position allows you to manage that exit just like that, so be it. Here's a PSAR flip, which pays. Here's a PSAR flip, which pays huge. So the 5.5 you got here, you might have gotten 5 more here and 2 more over here. So that was that dollar yen is a very active trade right now. Peter D. Live money trading +1 to you. And the information you learn in the simulator of live money trading is priceless. Quick cuts, lets it run and gets paid. Quick cut, lets it run. And yeah, that was a nice potential re-entry or anywhere inside of this. Quick cut, and the re-entry is the one I really want to point out is beautiful. I like the ability to change direction quickly, and that is a testimony to your work. I don't think this is a late entry so much. Yeah, if you saw it and then didn't believe it, and then waited for extra confirmation, it cost you about 0.3. But yeah. I'm not going to count that as a mistake. I see that as a fact that we got to have 4 things to take a trade: time, will, pattern, and money. And if the will is not there, don't take the trade. That's not a mistake. That's simply not putting your money down on it. That's all. That's not a mistake. It would only be a mistake if you said that you had to be absolutely perfect on every single decision in retrospect. So that's not the case. So not a mistake. A decision not to trade, which has consequences, but that's different than making a mistake. Not going to go through the eaches on this one. Woj is doing is making sawdust out of wood and is able to hold on for the plays when they're making money and nets 1.3 when the smoke clears. Tesla is able to grind to a pulp and scratch for the day, and then finds the movers and stays with them in every case. All of those are not false starts. Those are things that the price didn't follow through. That's not a reflection on you. You're doing what your rules say. So you got paid for 1.4, and NVIDIA was a lot of sparks flying. But you netted 2.5 for the day when the market was down. So we're going to acknowledge that. To the reports. So the 150 is teasing this all-important double top near the 150 all-time high. That don't let your enthusiasm for that move make you stay all the way in if it goes all the way down. So at a minimum, you got to be respecting that price level to preserve anything that you have earned in that run-up, including in here. That is the price level you must respect at 410. I mean, I remember these days over here when we were looking at 350 and wondering, man, is that going to 300? And every reason to believe it could, because it had just done this. It had gone from 480 to 350, which is minus 130 on 480, which is minus 25%. So don't forget what life is like there just because we're here. This is a compound critical state. And there's an abundance of reasons on each side. This is instructive. Note the range compression happening in here. And now this is how big the daily range is, and the 5-day range, and the 10-day range. Look, feel the compression of that coiled spring. The tighter it compresses, the greater the explosion in either direction it's going to be. That is the secret of compound critical state trading. We've been in this trend, you count them, 20 days. That's a good long trend. And that doesn't mean it's going to end. It just means know where you are. You know, I remember as a kid growing up in Indiana, kindergarten and first grade, that Lake Wawasee, and the lake would freeze, and you could walk across the lake. We used to walk across the lake to go watch football games on Sunday on our neighbors who had a TV, and we would walk across the lake. And the people in the town parked an old jalopy on the lake so you would know if the ice was strong enough to support you when you're ice fishing or in an ice boat or walking on the ice. So have a way to know before you need it. The 30-minute. This was a test this morning, and it closed here and then it gap opened to here. That move there in the market is what triggered all of those sells from the swings that I'd been accumulating along the way. And then the little recovery allowed for some reentry, and it closed reasonably well, but no higher than the previous peaks. So tomorrow we're going to find out, is there any guts on this thing? Was this just a shakeout to see who could be bullied out of the position and people were buying inventory ahead of a run-up? Could be. Could there be another one of these that gets tested at the bottom of the RL10s? Could be. Every one of those is a support level that held the last time it was there. And that's just a fact. It doesn't mean it'll hold again if the one above it breaks. So we'll see. This is going to be a beautiful trading day tomorrow, I can tell you that. I'm mindful that we are still in bullish quiet, and that this is still pretty good on the long side, that this is bullish, that's still bullish, liking all that. I'm noticing where the strength was today. Apple. They're going to make a lot of money getting into the banking business with partnering with Goldman Sachs, paying 4.5% interest. That's a shift into the late stage tech capitalism when they become a bank. That's what happened to GM and Ford. They get out of the auto manufacturing business, and what was their profit center was General Motors Finance and Ford Finance. And the automobiles were simply a reason to give you a loan. If Apple starts getting into that business, it looks like next generation capitalism is hitting, the former innovators. In the ETFs, the only weakness was in oil. So we'll watch Devon Energy sharply tomorrow. A handful of auto framers to choose from. Treasuries, Intel, and Tesla come to mind quickly. Lots of squeezes today. Lots of squeezes, including most of the indexes. Tech, small caps, treasuries, the S&P, and diamonds. All of those U.S. indexes were squeezed tightly. That is a coiled spring broadly ready to break. We might see some breaking up and some breaking down in order to detect who the new leaders are going to be for the next phase, but that's the market that we're in right now. The ice is cracking, and which way is it going to break? In the sniper, the reliable Godzillas, Rivian has now joined the Godzilla team for our tactical set. Handful of double greens over here on the one-day movers, like Abbott Labs, United Health, CD Warehouse, Travelers, and Humana. That's some goodness right there. Those are going to be movers tomorrow. And there's quite a few of those candidates in Juniper Networks, in Techland. Yeah, I'm liking that. Standard performance statistics and framing statistics for the auto framer. I chose that one to sort by percent gains and losses today, not reward to risk. So this was by the best performer: marijuana, biotech, Nvidia, Apple, as opposed to big losers: Ethereum, Brazil, Coinbase, Bitcoin, all the metals. That's the first indication of where the weakness and strength is. Still being dominated by the summer, but now a few slipping into fall as the market is starting to peak and roll over. Only DBA continues to be volatile in our tactical set. There's a lot of quietude happening. Look at all the Z-scores smaller than -1. That tells you how abnormally compressed the broad market is. A lot more weakness today than the few things in strength. This was a reason to hold McDonald's, Apple, Coca-Cola, the old reliables. Real estate, utilities, finance, the big banks continue to dominate. This is coyote time, the master opportunist. Trading value list, our final one. Tesla, marijuana, clean energy, Nvidia, Devon, Intel, the usual suspects. All right, that's everything we got for today. We'll get it published and processed. We will get you tomorrow.